Hey, oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the NFL Sunday Preview Show live, right? A little new for us.
Yeah,
First time doing this live. We're going to throw in the NFL Pick Six into this segment as well. So you can get the full show all at once, live, right from Anthony's mouth, right from my mouth. And then we go ahead and cut that later so you can also split those up. We're all about the listener around here. You know what I mean?
that's right. Hopefully, we get some people to join us live. It'd be great, to
Yeah.
see you come interact with us. You can comment on the videos live on what we're saying live. So if you disagree with us and you're usually shouting through the podcast, you can do that now on the live show. So come join us.
Yeah, so we did live shows for years as Buffalo Bills podcasters. We now just kind of focus on the NFL as a whole. That's always been our strength. Even when we did Bills, we love to talk about things around the NFL,
That's right.
the
We always
game as
do.
a whole. But we've actually been doing this live thing for a long time now, so
I know it's crazy
nothing
how
new
much
for us.
it's crazy how long it's been already, right? The
Yeah,
time flies. But we enjoy it, right? That's the whole point. We have fun, man. That's why we make this content.
definitely having fun. I mean, I think you're having a lot more fun than me with your picks. I'm still in the 30s. I seem to be kind of stuck in the 30% range on my picks on the season. Still at 35 to 37% overall. That's including money line, which the money line's really like if you could run the analysis, like the data on the scores, but for me, that's not as fun. I like to get into the games, the team morale, the players.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
spread is more fun for me. And that was my strength last year. But you 57% overall on the season. I mean, second last week in the nation, according to Tally Site, which
Right,
is
right.
only 400 analysts. I don't think every single analyst is on there, but
But there's a
out of
bunch of big
400,
ones. So it's still pretty
it's
dang good. And
pretty good. Yeah,
I had a less than 500 week overall this week, just 2 games under 500, so close to 500, but still less than 50%, not where we want to be. Still pretty good. And I dropped from 2 to 12 overall. That's still, I mean, obviously a huge, huge position to be in. 12 overall out of 400 people, self-proclaimed experts on Tally Site. Man, I'll take it for sure.
yeah. I mean, with that rate though, you could get a job at ESPN, like
Get a
Catherine
job with
says here.
ESPN. Yes.
Yes,
Right? Yes. Tell me about it. Put in my application. Put in a good word.
yeah.
Who
It's
knows
like I
somebody?
think the qualifications is driver's license. So really, it's who you know
Disney Disney owns that, right? Disney. Hey Disney, you listening? Let's
it.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
Pick up
So
the Hoof Podcast. You can't go wrong, Disney.
yeah, if you can maintain 50%, I'll be a reference for you.
There you go. Yeah, see?
Anyway, let's get into it here. Got another great week. We're week 7, starting to figure out what teams are bad, what teams are good. Right, we say that every single week, but the gap is widening. Right, uh, the game Thursday night game, which we talked about Thursday night preview show. Check that out if you want more details on that game. But those are two teams that this game's important for them. Right, being 2-5 versus 3-4. It's going to be really hard to overcome a 2-5 record, but 3-4 is a little different. And it's a lot of teams on the lineup here in that same type of scenario, right? Starting to get a couple game lead in the division. That stuff's going to start to matter here shortly. So, NFL pick 6, Anthony's top 6 picks of the week. Let's go ahead and get started here with your 6 overall most confident bet of week 7. And that is going to be the New York Jets at 4-2, -1, kind of a very slim line here at Denver. Very
Yeah,
interesting game.
it's pretty much a pick 'em, like we always say when the line is 1, although it could be 21-20 and you tie technically if you take the Jets here. But yeah, I'm taking the Jets -1. I took them last week and everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, "No, the Packers, whatever." And I said it was one of the craziest lines I've ever seen. This is now the correct type of line, right? The Jets aren't as good as the record says they are, but they're playing really well right now. And the Broncos aren't as bad as the record shows, but they can't put anything together right now. They might be as bad as the record shows at this point. And with the injury to Russell Wilson, that's uncertainty going into Sunday. Probably won't know until Sunday whether or not he's playing. I think that adds to my pick here as well. Although even if he was playing, that's probably their weakness more than their strength at this point, the quarterback position and the $50 million guy. But I just like what the Jets are doing. I think they're they're building things in the right direction. They have the momentum. They're not afraid. They're playing fearless. They've got nothing to lose. Nobody thought they'd be here. And that's a position you want to be in. And the Broncos are the opposite. They're playing scared right now. They had their division rival. They had them on the ropes. They couldn't close. They couldn't get anything done against them. The defense is playing well, and they got to be demoralized because the offense can't do anything at all. So I think the Jets make it an easy pick for me. Take the Jets -1. I think they win the game. So
I know my mom always said, "Don't bet the Lions, don't bet the Jets." But maybe that's changed now. But we'll see.
Right.
I'm still
and
very.
the line has
that's
been
big for me.
wavering back and forth. I've seen it as much as +1 for the Jets. Not that it makes a huge difference either way. In fact, probably in this game, it's better to bet the money line if you think the Jets are going to win. The odds would be better, right? Because you're not giving up the points. So yeah. But I'll take the Jets.
Right. And Broncos defense playing great. Waiting for that offense to catch up. Still haven't seen it. I guess we'll have to wait another week. But,
Jets defense playing pretty darn good too, actually. So
yeah.
You could say it's their opponents, but still, you got to give them credit.
Both top 10 units currently right now. I think the Broncos are top 3, I believe. Anyway, get into more of that later on. But let's get on to your 5th most confident bet of Week 7, and that is going to be Cleveland +6.5 at Baltimore. You like Cleveland in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Cleveland with the points, 6.5 points. I think Baltimore wins. I'm predicting Baltimore wins, but 6.5 points is far too many points. Baltimore has a tough time holding a lead. This is a division rival. This is going to be a close game. Even if Baltimore was playing their type of game, and Cleveland was as well, both teams have kind of taken a step back over the last couple weeks. 6.5 is just too many points either way. A division game is going to be close. I expect this to be a 3-point game, 4-point game, somewhere in that range. 20-24, I could see. 6.5, sure, give me the Browns. I don't even have to think about it. I think Baltimore wins, but they can't hold a lead. We've seen that consistently through the season now.
Right. I think we're beyond the point to say, the Ravens, they're going to get over this hump and they're going to be a fourth quarter team. They're going to play 4 quarters. We've seen enough examples now to say, I don't think that's the identity of the team this year. They're currently blowing leads consistently, and that's hard to turn around. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. But yeah, Cleveland, I think the way they play, smash mouth, good defense, should be a low scoring game. So yeah, I like the points here. They're giving them a lot of room. They're giving Cleveland a lot of room with 6.5. Let's move on to number 4, and that is the Seattle Seahawks +5.5 at the LA Chargers.
Yeah,
like the Chargers.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. I'm taking the Chargers again in the same spot. They blew it last week for me against, obviously, the Broncos, who we just talked about, at home. And they're at home again against the Seahawks, now giving up 5.5. I'm taking the Chargers -5.5. Seahawks have had a resurgence. Yes, their offense looks good. Their defense is absolute garbage. And if the Chargers can't score against that defense, the Broncos have a good defense, so it's understandable that they were held there. I expect the Chargers to put up a lot of points in this one, so I think they win by well more than a touchdown. So that's why I'm taking the Chargers -5.5 here. So yeah, that's my number 4 bet of the week. Feeling pretty confident about this one. The Seahawks can't continue to fall into a pot of gold the way they have this season.
Right. And the Chargers kind of struggled last week on offense, so bounce back league. So I can definitely see that as well.
Yeah, against the Broncos defense, a very good defense. So I expect their run game and their pass game to be stronger in this game.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move on to number 3, third most confident bet of Week 7. The Miami Dolphins -7 at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with the big win last week, but you like Miami. Tua now back in the lineup.
Right.
I think that's helpful.
Presumably, they haven't officially declared it, but he's healthy. He's practicing, I think, limited. So, yeah, I like Miami here. Again, Pittsburgh is one of those teams. Yes, they got a big win over Tampa. That was more Tampa stumbling over themselves, I think, in the midst of trying to find their groove. And the Steelers, although they've been good, Kenny Pickett's hurt now, so Trubisky's back. They're still very inconsistent. And if anything, we know that they're sellers right now, right? And Miami at home, -7. Miami's got Tua back. They've got Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who have been playing crazy, putting up crazy high numbers. I think that leads to points in this one. I think Tua makes that little bit difference that they need. So this could be another game where the -7 looks easy by the third quarter. So give me the Dolphins -7 here.
Yeah, the Dolphins have lost 3 in a row. They gotta have a win here.
Mm-hmm.
Tua back in the lineup.
Definitely.
You're out of excuses. It's time to get this show back on the road, right? These receivers are too good. They're just too good. All right, let's move on to your second most confident bet of Week 7. It's the Kansas City Chiefs -2.5 at San Francisco, and you're taking the Chiefs.
Absolutely. I'm taking the Chiefs -2.5. Even though this game is in San Francisco, a tough place to play for most teams, San Francisco has a good defense. We saw the injuries catch up to them a bit, San Francisco, I mean. And Kansas City just got punched in the mouth by the Buffalo Bills, and they are going to want to prove that they're still one of the best teams in the NFL. And I think that Patrick Mahomes and that offense get it going very well in this game. So I'm taking the Chiefs -2.5. I think they could win it big, 10 points or more. This is a very confident bet for me. Just the outcomes, and I don't trust San Francisco, right? Jimmy G, inconsistent, the run game. I know they've got a ton of injuries now on both sides of the ball, and I think that's just affecting their overall play. So Kansas City's going to capitalize on that. Yeah. AFC versus NFC this year, take AFC.
Yeah, and Pat Mahomes, I don't think loses 2 in a row too often, right?
Right.
So I think he'll bounce back after the tough, mistake he made last week versus the Bills. And I just don't think San Francisco's built to play a team like Kansas City, right? They can't really score a lot of points. They like to bring teams down to their level and kind of beat them in their own game.
Yes,
but
it's hard to do against one of the most fast-paced electric offenses.
Yeah. We've seen teams try and fail for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to number 1 for the week, most confident bet of Week 7, and that is Dallas. If I can find the thing.
Dallas -7 versus Detroit. They're at home, looking for the bottom scroll bar. This is what happens when you're live now.
Yeah.
So I am taking Dallas -7 versus Detroit. The return of Dak Prescott, and I think after all this talk, and he's been itching to get in there and show what he can do, I think they blow out the Lions in this one. The Dallas's defense is really, really strong, right? We've seen that against the pass, especially. Detroit, hopefully they're a little more healthy coming out of the bye. They get Swift back, they get DJ Chark back. Both are still questionable, so we're not 100% sure on that. But I think that if they get healthy, they can put some points up against Dallas, right? Maybe they'll score a few. But you're talking about Jared Goff versus that Dallas pass rush? He's going to get eaten alive out there. So, I mean, I really like Dallas in this one. The two combination, the fact that Dallas is going to, and Dak Prescott is going to want to prove, hey, I'm the starter here, and this offense is better with me in it, and he has to show that. And then also the fact that their defense is going to eat Jared Goff alive. Give me Dallas -7 all day.
You like Dallas? I mean, Jared Goff had a little rest, right? Bye week.
Does that make Jared Goff any better?
No, I don't think so. Dak Prescott coming back, though, might take a game or two to get accustomed, But
I don't know.
Dallas playing well. I don't think you have to do much to get a win if you're Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm. Play your game. No.
All right, so that's the pick 6 for the week. Here's the full list. Anthony's top 6 bets on the week. If you like money, I would definitely listen to what Anthony says. Every single week this season, he's had a winning record on these 6 picks overall. He's
week 2, I had one losing week. Week 2,
I had
losing record. That's it, though. Every other week is a winning record. It's been incredible thus far. So yeah, you got to follow along. Those top 2, I usually give you a hint about what I like this week. Those top 2 bets, I was debating 1 and 2. So Kansas City and Dallas, those are the big bets for me. I'm putting lots of money on those 2. And then I like the parlays this week because you can mix and match some of these. Say I end up going 5-1 and one of these teams loses. Well, if you start mixing and matching parlays with 4 teams and putting some money down on them, you could win a bunch of money with a little bit of a bet, right? A $10 bet on a 4-way parlay could pay out $180 if you do it the right way here. So if you wanted to do Jets, Browns, Chargers, Dolphins, or if you do Jets, Browns, Kansas City, Dallas, etc., I like the combinations on the 4-team parlays. You could even go 5-team parlay, but obviously the more you add, the higher risk there is here. But the individual bets this week, I love them. Each of these games individually, I'm confident we're going to have a winning record next week as well.
All right. Yeah. I mean, your record shows for it. I mean, I was doubting you early, but now, I'm over that stage. I got nothing. So
3 years of proof now.
Right?
It's
still over 50% on the season, though, correct? I know last week you were at
absolutely
57% on
for
the
my
season.
pick six. Oh no, yeah,
no,
for
overall.
For all of my picks. So
Every
you're
pick.
talking about Tally Site. On Tally Site, I pick every game, the money line, the spread, and the over under. And yes, I'm still over 50%. I think I'm at 56-ish now. Let me double check that here. I think I can do that quick. My overall percentage for the 2023 season. Let me select that as soon as I find it here. Yes, my percentage is 56% on Tally's site, 157, 119, and 5. So that's still super high percentage when you're talking about overall. And my percentage for the pick six is even higher than that at 65-ish%, depending on how you round. I think it's 65.08 or whatever. But yeah, so 65-ish% is insanely high and insanely good. That's why we've been really having a good season, but expect that to carry through this week. I really, really like this week's pick six. Probably my favorite one yet, my most confident one yet.
Ooh, really? Even with the bye weeks, right?
Yeah.
Less games, harder to pick six out
of
the group.
It's always harder to pick when there's bye weeks. 3 of the teams I have in my top 4, right, are on bye this week. So I couldn't pick the Bills. I couldn't pick Minnesota, who a lot of you have said, yeah, you're picking them a lot. Well, it's for good reason. They're really good teams. That's right.
I mean, a lot of people are stuck on Green Bay. They've been good for 10 years. It's hard to get off that. It's kind of what's happening in Pittsburgh, too, right?
I warned you about that last week, though.
Pittsburgh's the same way. They've been good for over 10 years, and people just have a hard time not picking them, right? Even though they had the big upset last week, that gets confusing, right, when you're making your picks. But I think it's all about the rookie quarterback for them. And, Minnesota's the best team in the NFC North right now. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. All right, let's move into the NFL Sunday preview. We're going to go through every single game, give our thoughts, give our predictions for Sunday, get everybody ready for Week 7.
Let's do it, baby.
We already talked about the Thursday night game. That's here about to kick off in an hour. If you want to check that out, that is the Thursday night preview show. Be sure to check that out. We went through, the quarterback situation, receiver situation, D-Hop coming back for the Cardinals, so that'll be fun to watch.
Injuries.
And hopefully we can get a Thursday night touchdown. It's been a while. Right?
Yeah, I expect that in this game. And we also made our picks, and I'm 6-0 on Thursday night, hoping to make that 7-0. We'll see tonight.
This is true. So check out the Thursday night preview show to see what Anthony picked there. But let's kick it off with Week 7, Sunday. The Packers -4.5 at the Washington Commanders. Carson Wentz is out. Tyler Heineke takes over. Washington at 2-4. And how about this Dan Snyder stuff going on around the league?
Oh my gosh. We said bizarre. That, right? We talked about that in our preseason. I say this all the time, right? Go back and watch our preseason show and you'll see our predictions there. And one of the things that Eric and I talked about extensively was the fact that no matter how good this Washington football team ends up being, they have this big looming thing over their head where the organization as a whole is an absolute dumpster fire, train wreck, a car crash, whatever you want to call it. It's a mess beyond a mess. Anything you think couldn't happen next, all of a sudden there's another story about something terrible that's going on with this
organization. The coach is yelling at the media here in the first 6 weeks of football. I mean, that's pretty alarming, right? We still got a lot of games left. And
there's a lot going on there that isn't pretty for them. And I think that they need to, find a way to keep the organization moving in a football direction, despite what's going on in the upper echelon of
this is kind of like the first time we've seen owners go at it.
Yes,
in the media, right? Usually that stuff's pretty hush hush.
Jim Irsay coming out and calling out.
Do you think that impacts the team performance? Do you think that affects them at all? Or do you think it's just it's a different level, right? The billionaires are the billionaires. We're just the peons.
I think it affects them in the sense that now they're going to be asked about it, right? They're going to be asked about it. And have you heard about Dan Snyder? Or what do you trust Dan Snyder? Do you think this? And they have to, just by having to address it or having to say to the media, we're not going to talk about that. The media is going to keep asking, and they're going to have to say, listen, we're not going to talk about that. We're focused on football. So it does become a distraction. And that inevitably is going to affect you in some way, shape, or form. Does it actually affect the play of football on the field? Not really, but it still is going to affect you mentally at the least.
Yeah, I can see that. It starts at the top, right? Just like your job. If your boss is in the media for certain things, I mean, it does impact everything, morale overall, right? Hey,
Yeah.
this is the organization. It's represented by this guy. He's the head of the snake, right? So when the head of the snake's doing weird stuff, it rubs people the wrong way in the organization, right? Because it impacts you and what how you feel about what you're doing, every day with your life, right? Anyway, let's get into the game. Packers here, 3-3, still in the hunt for the the division lead. I think a couple games back now, it's starting to get away from them. Are they in must-win mode to keep up with Minnesota, or is it a little too early for that talk?
Yeah, no, they are not competing with Minnesota in any way, shape, or form. This team is one of the worst teams in the NFL. I'm not kidding. I said that last week. Nobody believed me. I said they were going to get their butt kicked by the Jets. Nobody believed me. They absolutely suck. Okay? They might lose this game. They might lose this game to the embarrassingly bad and underperforming without their starting quarterback Washington Commanders. Okay? I would not be surprised if they blow it and lose this game. They can't do anything on defense. They can't do anything on offense. They suck on special teams. Okay? 3 phases of football, they do not do one thing well. They don't pass well. They don't run well. They've had good run games, but they don't run well. They're supposed to be a run first team. They don't have the wide receivers for Aaron Rodgers to throw it 60 times a game anymore. And now they're still trying to do that because they end up getting in a spot where people know they're going to try and run, and then they stop the run. And then what are you going to do if you can't run? You can't set up the pass. Then when you do pass, your receivers can't catch, and you don't have as good of chemistry with them. It's just all around bad for the Green Bay Packers. They're not competing for anything except their lives in this one. They have to. This is a must-win game for Green Bay. If you go 3-4 and you lose to Washington, that is the low point of your season at that point.
Yeah, here's a funny
It
stat.
does not get much worse than that.
Yeah. You mentioned they're not good at anything, and they haven't had a bye week yet. Keep in mind there is a bunch of teams on bye week that's going to impact some of these stats. But scoring percentage on the season, Green Bay is 31st at 27.9.
I'm telling you.
The only team worse than them is Washington Commanders at 23.
31 and 32 in scoring.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Pound the under for this game.
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
Take the under there, but you're right though. Green Bay, I thought they wanted to run the football. They wanted to be a run first team, but it's just not working out. Only 3 touchdowns on the ground so far this season. They're middle of the road in rushing yards. They're middle of the road in overall offense. It's really uncharacteristic for a 2-time MVP quarterback to be middle of the road. But there's a lot of season left. We'll see. They're just, again, I say this every week, but I think they're waiting for that person to step up, right? Which receiver is going to step up and take over for this team? And that person may not be on the roster, right? A lot of rumors about Chase Claypool out there. A lot of,
oh my gosh.
Well, what's that tell you?
Chase Claypool.
Well, and some rumors are off, I would say, like they're not confirmed and whatever.
Right.
Sometimes they put them out there just to
exactly
sway people.
Green Bay would love to get a receiver. I mean, they would love to. At this
does that
point.
scream desperation when you hear these rumors for Chase Claypool and things?
It absolutely should. I mean, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you came into this season thinking you were hot stuff, right? And you're absolutely not. You suck. They know if they look themselves in the mirror, they're like, okay, we're in desperation mode right now. What can we do to get better? Our team is simply put not good enough. We need somebody, something, somewhere to come in and make this better. And the only way to do that is to trade for people, right? And I think if you were able to bring in a proven wide receiver, then it'll help your team, But I'm not confident that Green Bay has what is necessary to trade for a top receiver like that. A Chase Claypool. I don't even think Pittsburgh's going to give up Chase Claypool, first of all. But, that rumor came out of nowhere. But pick a wide receiver. I can't think of one right now who is on the chopping block.
I think they would.
That is on the rumor mill.
Get the picks when you can. Chase Claypool's value's high, and they have something in George Pickens there, right?
That's true.
So,
but I don't know.
They may make a move there.
They could.
Anyway, who are you taking in this game?
With the points, I'm taking Washington. 4.5. I think, again, Green Bay has not proven that they can blow out anybody. And maybe Washington, we've talked about the inconsistency of Carson Wentz week after week after week. And now he's gone. We've got Tyler Heineke in there again. And if nothing else, that might level off this team to say, okay, we can run the ball. We can pass it slowly. We don't need to rely on this inconsistent quarterback, right? So I think that they end up keeping it close again because Green Bay just can't get anything done. They stumble over themselves. And so I'll take Washington with the 4.5, but I do think Green Bay finds a way to win because they need to. They desperately, desperately need to. I think it's going to be by 1 to 3 points. So, so Green Bay on the money line, but Washington with the points. And I'll take the under because neither one of these two teams can score very well.
Yeah, no, I'm going Green Bay. I think I can see Aaron Rodgers right now. Relax, everybody. We're going to figure this out. Washington's got a lot going on. So I don't trust them. If this was any other team, I would consider. I don't think Green Bay is good right now, but I do think they're better than the Commanders. So I take Green Bay in this one, and I'm going under on the 41. All right, next game, we have the AFC South matchup. This is a kind of a big game for these teams, right? Divisions neck and neck. I mean, the record's right there, 3-2 for Tennessee. Colts are 3-2-1. Colts kind of coming back here, right? Started out real bad, but now it's starting to turn into something. If they win this game, they're back, right? Officially back in the conversation to be a playoff team and a contender.
Definitely. This would be a huge win for that Colts team, especially given the fact that, Indy is 3-2-1 and Tennessee is 3-2. You'd be the division leader. You'd be in control of your own fate again after a terrible start to your season, really. And it would be a big win for the Colts. However, Tennessee is coming off a bye, right? Tennessee is coming off rest, an extra week to prepare for this division rivalry game. And that doesn't add up well for any team, let alone a Colts team that's been up and down and struggling to find its identity.
Yeah, for sure. And this game screams rushing. I think Jonathan Taylor will finally be back for the Colts.
He should be, yeah.
And in Tennessee, there's no other option. It all goes through Derrick Henry. As it should, right? So it's going to be a fun game if you like to watch, smash mouth Russian style football. I mean, these are two premier teams in the run game. At least they're supposed to be. Maybe they haven't met expectations, but I mean, they're supposed to be two of the most talented running backs in the whole league. They might be 1 and 2 in the whole league. Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry.
Very well. Yeah. And most people there's probably a mix of who has won, which one won, right? And I agree that it's going to be run the ball football here. But I think the difference in these two teams, or the strengths, if you will, if you look at the Colts, we've talked about it in the preseason and in other games matchups, they have a really good backfield cornerbacks that are really good, right? But Tennessee isn't going to be throwing the ball all that much, right? They dink and donk when they throw the ball. They don't necessarily target their number 1 and 2 wide receivers. So that takes away, in a sense, a strength of that Colts defense, right? You're going to have to put down the hatches and say, okay, we got to stop Derrick Henry. Right. And I'm not so confident in Indy's ability to do that as I am for them to limit the passing of certain quarterbacks. So Derrick Henry, again, coming off a week's rest, knowing how prepared they're going to be, knowing that this is a big divisional rivalry and, you have your own fate in your hands, Tennessee's going to come out swinging, I think, and they have a bit of an advantage in this one, in more ways than one.
Right. I do think the Colts are starting to figure it out now, but they are 4th in the league in turnovers. They've only had 4 fumbles lost on the season. So they got to stop the bleeding before they can, be talked about as a contender. And I think we saw that last week. They did bounce back a little bit. I don't think they had any turnovers, or maybe 1 fumble or, 1 minor thing. But yeah, Tennessee, they've been pretty consistent overall, really. I mean, they got blown out by Buffalo, but I think their pass game is taking a step back, but that might be a good thing. As long as Derrick Henry stays healthy, I think they're going to be in the conversation throughout.
Might be a good thing.
It might be a good thing.
You don't want to have to rely on Ryan Tannehill. I think everybody's
when Derrick Henry goes down like he did last year, yeah, it had to go through Ryan Tannehill, and give him credit. They got the 1 seed, right? He gets credit for that, but you had AJ Brown. Things are a little different this year. If Derrick Henry goes down, it's over, right? So
Yes,
I
agreed.
think every
They don't.
game lead you can get is a huge advantage. So this one is very important for Tennessee. Who you taking?
Yeah, I'm taking Tennessee. Obviously, I set it up that way, but I think Tennessee with the rest and the advantage is going to do well here. They're playing at home. They've got to beat Indy. Both teams have to win this game, really. And Tennessee should because they're at home. So give me Tennessee -2.5. I expect them to win by 3 at least, if not maybe 6 or a touchdown. And Indy, continues that spiral of where are we at right now, and who do we have at the positions? Can we rely on our running back to actually carry the team literally, or is Matt Ryan suddenly going to be consistently at least good, not great, but good enough to carry the team along with the running back? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens here, but I'm definitely picking Tennessee and the over in this game because I think it ends up being like 24-20, something like that.
Okay, I did the same thing. I'm taking Tennessee at home off the bye week. They got the rest. And I'm taking the over. I think this will be a back and forth matchup. It's going to be really competitive because it is a divisional matchup. I think the teams know what's at stake here, right? A lead this early would be a benefit. But I just think the Colts really haven't. They've been back and forth. Maybe they caught a little traction lately, but I think Tennessee's way ahead of them in that. They've now they started off a little rough, but they've played pretty well since then, and they also get the rest early, so that helps. All right, next one.
Kathy, not a big fan of Derrick Henry, by the way, because she doesn't like his hair. Please tell me he finally cut and washed his hair. Well, I'd hate to tell you, but he has not. So he's still sporting the long dreadlock ponytail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen his hair because I can't get past his biceps. I stare at those all the time. So,
he's a big dude.
I didn't even know he had hair. All right, next game here. Let's go. The Giants +3 at Jacksonville. Could we see a 6-1 Giants team and blow up all of our season predictions on wins? I think we'll go back and check. I'm not sure on this, not confirmed. But do we both pick the Giants under 6 wins?
I had them at
Sure
6 wins. I had them at 6 wins on the season.
Okay.
And you're right that they could very well win their 6th game right here, right now. I mean, this is a game that could go either way in my mind. The Jaguars playing inconsistently, sometimes look really good, sometimes don't. I still think the Giants' record is more inflated than the team is good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The record doesn't reflect the team as
They're
much
a Cinderella
as I think.
team, right?
Right. They've been lucky. They've been good. Don't get me wrong. I got to give them credit. They've been playing out of their shoes, man. Daniel Jones really putting himself on the line. Saquon Barkley looking like the star that he should be. And you can only play the teams that are in front of you, right? And right now, they're going to face a Jags team with a good but not great defense that's been exploited at times this season, and a good but not great offense that has been inconsistent this season. So the Giants could very well take advantage once again and win and become a 6-1 team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and that would be very surprising. But it really, every player in the NFL is, talented, and you get a good coach in there. The Bills did it in 2017 with Sean McDermott. They had Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, and they won 9 games, got in the playoffs, broke the drought. It can happen. I think Brian Daboll is the real deal at this point. I think he's proven me wrong, proven everybody wrong. I think everyone thought we were going to have a kind of a rebuild year. Giants be on their 4th rebuild year, but they are turning things around. There's no doubt about that. The momentum has swung. They got some really good pieces in the draft the past few seasons with Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal, and Thibodeau. Thibodeau looked pretty good last week. Basically sealed the deal for them. So kudos to them for hitting on draft picks. That's half the battle.
Yes, yeah, right. And Daboll also putting together the squad, the coaching staff that he has there, right? The defense is looking very, very good for the Giants lately, which is something I don't think.
Martindale from Baltimore,
yeah,
right?
Martindale. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people predicted that. And they've been able to do that. And same thing on special teams offense, which, Daboll's really in charge of the offense as a former offensive coordinator. But they've been able to do everything they've needed to do to win games and have their record be where it is. So it's tough to count against them at this point, given that they've probably played the most above expectation football in the NFL so far.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about Jacksonville. I mean, again, the trust factor, right? We were pretty high on them when they beat the Chargers, but since then we saw a 5-turnover game, and I think they played pretty well last week.
Yeah, they scored a lot of points, but
forget who they played, but I remember them going back and forth. It just kind of came up short late. But I think they're capable of playing really good football, right? It's a young roster. It's a young quarterback. Is he improved? Hard to say at this point. But
I think that this could be a bounce back game for the Jaguars too, right? They're coming in. They had another tough game, but they were in it. This could be another game where they say, okay, well, maybe we can stop what the Giants do best, stop Saquon Barkley, and limit the runs by the quarterback. And, their defense is tough, but our offense, we can run the ball well. We've got 3 guys now who run the ball on the Jaguars team. And, Trevor Lawrence, really, it's down to him. When he has a bad game, they're really bad. When he has a good game, he is able to lead this team to victory. So I think it's on the shoulders of Trevor Lawrence to have one of those good games. Good enough. You can rely on your run game and just good enough to get this team over the hump and beat a good team like the Giants.
All right, so who are you taking here? I'm going Giants. I like the momentum. Don't really trust Jacksonville at this point. So I'll keep the Giants going with their momentum and morale.
Yeah.
And I'm going under on the 43. Just don't think these are 2 high-scoring teams.
Okay, well, I am actually picking the Jaguars. I know I just hyped up the Giants and said all this stuff. I'm picking the Jaguars to win the game. I think that this could be the game that is more of a wake-up call for the Giants. Like, oh, wait, we're not as good as we thought we were. We do need to still come prepared and ready to go every day. Not that Daboll isn't getting them prepared and ready to go, but there's no doubt that those guys are inflated to the max now that they're 5-1 and nobody saw that coming. Right. So I think that this could be the slap in the face kind of wake-up call game where the Jags eke out a win. I don't think they'll destroy them by any means, but they'll eke out a win. So give me the Jags -3. The Jags are -3. Yes, the Jags are -3. Yep. Giants are getting 3. Wow, that's backwards. Can't believe I'm picking the Jags to beat the Giants right now, but that's what I'm doing. I think that this could be the game where the Jaguars put it together, get a win that they're not supposed to against an opponent who's playing really well.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to take the over just because I think that it has to lead to more points on the board if the Jags are going to win. They're going to have to put up, 28 points or so and make it a 28-20 game.
Yep, makes sense. Well said. I could see either scenario, but I just like where the Giants are.
It's a tough one. This is a very tough game to call.
It is. But Giants going down to Florida, get some good weather. I like that. All right, Atlanta, surprise team, right? 3-3. Another surprise team here. Had a couple good wins. Last week was the one they beat San Francisco. Plus 6.5 at Cincinnati. Over under set at 47.5. What's your thoughts on this game?
My thoughts on this game, my initial thoughts are don't bet against Marcus Mariota and the spread, right? He is absolutely perfect this season against the spread. So immediately I'll tell you I'm taking the Falcons with the points, right? Because I just can't bet it anymore. I can't bet against it anymore because it's a perfect, 6-0 on this season, and Marcus Mariota in general dominant against the spread. So I think they find a way to keep it close, and that is consistent with 2 things, consistent with what they've shown this season and very consistent with, again, what I said in the preview show before the season even started. I said that the Falcons are better than people think they are, that they will be in closer games than people think right now because they were picked to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And here they are at 3-3, same record as their opponent right now, the team that was in the Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals. So I do think that they find a way. Their offense is getting going a little better. We're starting to see Kyle Pitts had a better game. Mariota's finding some chemistry with his guys. They have a good run game. And Cincinnati's been vulnerable, right? So Cincinnati's not blowing any opponents out. They've been giving up points. Their offense has looked stagnant at times, even though they've been able to get on the scoreboard and get a few wins here. So I think the Bengals win this game, but I have to take Mariota in the points with the Falcons.
Yeah, and they played a really efficient game last week, and that's really all they do is play efficient football. Marcus Mariota's like 13 of 14. He doesn't have to do a ton. It's running back by committee with Cordell Patterson out for them, and they're just making it happen. Kudos to the coach there as well, right? 3-3 is not great, but I don't think a lot of people really anticipated they'd be tied with the Buccaneers through 6 weeks. Right,
more wins than most thought they'd have on the season.
They're not dead yet, right? So I think keep it going, right? Try to build off that. So I like Atlanta as well. Cincinnati could blow this one out, but I mean, just the Falcons are just it's hard. They don't have any big strengths. They're not using Kyle Pitts, right? But I think that's what's hard to cover is you don't know who's going to get the ball, right? And Marcus Mariota can use his legs, and he's not going to make big mistakes. It's just
exactly.
It's hard to play, and their defense is playing well, right? So it's hard to beat a team like that when they don't make any mistakes and give you any opportunities. So it's really, who can play mistake-free football on both sides. And I'd like Atlanta right now. Again, maybe not to win, but at 6.5, I'll take Atlanta.
This is another one of those underdog teams that is coming out just like last week when they came out on fire against the 49ers. They've are just playing with every ounce of energy they have because they have nothing to lose. Nobody thought they'd have 3 wins, at this point in the season. And against a team like this, that again, everybody's picking against them. Nobody's giving them a chance. 6.5-point underdogs. They've got a lot to prove. They could come out swinging again in this one.
Yeah, for sure. And, Cincinnati, it's week up, week down for them, it seems like, right? So, and I'm
the record is very indicative of how they played this year.
And I'm going over on this one too, by the way.
Yes, I'm at the over as well. I think, by the time both teams have been able to score points. So,
I think they'll both get over 25, just over 25, but that should be enough. All right, next game here, we got the Detroit Lions +7 at the Dallas Cowboys. Number 1 most confident bet of the week for you. We talked about a little bit.
We did. Dak is coming back for this game. Dak has a lot to prove with this offense. He wants to show that, hey, all that talk about the backup guy, yeah, he did a good job and I'm proud of him, but I am the man here, right? So he's got a lot to prove and it's got to happen quick, right? You can't say, oh, okay, he's got a game to come back. He knows what's at stake here. He knows that people are saying Cooper Rush should have been the starter still. And if they had beaten Philly, they might be. And that would just be crazy. Dak is the better quarterback. Dak's the better player. Dak should be in there, no doubt. And he's going to prove that in this game in the plays that he can make. It's the special throws that he can make that Cooper Rush simply cannot. So I think that Dallas is going to come out on offense with a lot to prove. They still have a really good run game. They're still going to use the run game. I think that with Dak out, they figured out what really works for this offense and how to make it more efficient. If Dak had played in that Philly game, we might see a different result because the defense is still electric and they kept him in against Philly, but the offense kind of stalled because of Cooper Rush not being able to make some of the throws that I believe Dak Prescott makes every single time. So give me Dallas -7 all day long here. Yes, the Lions are coming off a bye. They've been able to put points up. They're getting healthier. Now they're having all their stars back. But even at the beginning of the season when they were healthy, I said I just don't trust them. They're not at the point where I think they can beat good teams. And their defense is wholly inefficient compared to the Dallas defense. And I think that Dallas defense eats their quarterback alive because, I mean, they've been doing that to everybody. And the Lions offensive line isn't necessarily one we look at and say, oh, that's a top 10 unit that can really slow things down. So yeah, I think everything favors Dallas. They're playing at home. Everything favors Dallas in this one, in my mind.
Yeah, I'm taking Detroit coming off the bye week. This is the number 1 scoring offense in the league at one point.
Oh my God. Against terrible teams.
What did we talk about, preseason? We were trying to predict the division, predict the
What's their DVOA, Eric? What's their
I don't know what that is. But I think a coach like Campbell is going to motivate his team and he's going to will his team to win a few games this season, right? It hasn't really happened yet at 1-4, but you had a week to reset. kind of figure out who we are, right? I think this is national stage, right? It's in Dallas, coming off the bye week. I think this is prime for an upset. So I'm going to go Detroit, and they got good line too, right? +7. They're going to come out and play smash mouth, improve defense, and I think they're going to upset Dallas in this one. So I'm going Detroit.
Improve defense? Who's coming in?
Well, you can't get worse than they've been.
Yeah, 40 points a game. Come on.
I think their coach can will them to a win. Right? This is the Rex Ryan kind of factor, right? It's, hey, yeah, we're not supposed to win, but I'll motivate you to kick this wall.
They're not at that point yet. But though they've proven that in the first 2 games this season when they were really close in the game and they were putting up points, but their defense couldn't hang because they just kept giving up points, right? And that's why they only are 1-4. They could easily be 3-2 or whatever.
Right. They've been in every game. I agree with that, but
they're not.
Little recalibration here with the bye week. Dallas coming off the tough loss in Philly.
Maybe they figured something out, but I don't think so.
I like Detroit. I'm taking them. Maybe that's the reason I'm 35%, but I'm going with it anyway. Follow the gut. Anyway, and going under on the 49 for this one. I think it's run heavy. All right, next game here. Cleveland +6.5 at Baltimore. Touched on this one a little bit. 5th most confident bet of the week. And what do we think here? Jacoby Brissett has really maybe been the reason that they're 2-4 and not 3-3 or not 4-2, right?
Well, and not using your star enough. Nick Chubb. Every single time I'd give it to him. I'm telling you, I know, you can't really do that. I know you got to pass it a little bit. But the games that they've lost, they're just passing the ball too much. And it's because they end up down by a lot of points and they have to pass to get back in it. And they're never going to win that way in my mind. You have to realize what you are right now. You have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. He's not the type of quarterback to throw up a bunch of points. He's going to lead the team. He can make passes. He can score touchdowns. They have playmakers on offense. David Njoku. They've got Amari Cooper. So, I like the pieces they have. I think they can score points with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, passing the ball, But ultimately, you have to run to set up the best plays for Amari Cooper and David Njoku to score, especially in the red zone. And against this Baltimore team that's blown lead after lead after lead, you have to have some confidence and maintain what you do best and not feel like, we got to change the game plan because we end up down by 14 points or something like that.
Well, I think the run thing is not working for Cleveland because they're doing it.
They're not doing it. No, they're not.
They're leading the league in rushing yards.
Nick Chubb ran the ball 12 times last week, and they passed the ball almost 60 times.
That's because you're down.
60. Exactly. You're not going to win. You can't change your game plan.
Right. I think when you run the football, you got to play 4 quarters, right? Because when you get down 2 scores, you have to start throwing the ball to have a shot. Otherwise, you're just going to run the clock out for the other team, right? But they are leading the league in rushing.
Against Baltimore, I disagree. Baltimore.
They're number 2 in the league in rushing touchdowns. But, Baltimore's going to run the ball a lot too. But if you get down 2 scores early, it's really hard to run the ball and come back and win, right? So I think that's kind of where they are, is they got to come out and play good early, right? Sustain drives early. Use Nick Chubb early on, effectively, and you won't get in these holes because they're not built to come out of these holes.
Agreed.
Right? And that's what's going on. So we'll see when Deshaun Watson gets back. I think week 11. So we got getting closer, right? But they might be out of it by then, right? And this game,
they're
kind of big
themselves. 2 games they could have won. Another team that could easily be 4-2 instead of 2-4. But again, they just kind of have dropped the ball a little bit with those close games. And I do expect this to be another close game. Baltimore, we've seen them consistently not be able to hold a 10-point lead, right? 3 games they've lost with all 3 with a 10-point lead. And that to me is just unacceptable and has to zero out at some point. You're going to have a 10-point lead and win games. If the defense at least shows some signs of life. And their offense, obviously Lamar Jackson, I expect him to play well. I expect him to do what he does best. I do think that without J.K. Dobbins and the run game has been not living up to the expectations of this Baltimore team. And in a game like this, again, against a division rival who knows what you do well, who has seen Lamar Jackson and knows how to game plan for him, they could end up limiting. And it wouldn't surprise me if Cleveland finds a way to pull this one out and win it if they do everything right and run the ball and they were able to maintain the game the way we were talking about. And at the very least, this should be a close game, as I said when we went over the pick six. So 6.5 points to me is an egregious mistake here by Vegas again. Not one of the worst, like that Jets game, but this is like eye-poppingly bet me written all over it. So that's why I'm taking Cleveland plus 6.5. I think Baltimore wins, but it ends up being a close one.
Yeah, I think Cleveland's a little desperate here, right? And Baltimore, this hasn't showed us that they can sustain a lead, right? They could be up by 2 scores. It's not going to be over, right?
Yep.
So I think it'll end up being close. I like Lamar Jackson. They're playing really well, except for the fourth quarter. This team they could be in the conversation for an undefeated team, right? With what they've been playing like, but they blow these fourth quarter leads. So yeah, it's a tough one here, but I'm going Cleveland as well. I like the line plus 6.5, and I'm going over on the 45.5.
I'm over as well. I think that points will be scored in this one.
Right. So then Baltimore would be at 3 and 4. Is it Cincinnati? Cincinnati's opportunity to take the lead in the division if they lose. Anyway, something to pay attention to. All right, Houston Texans coming off the bye, not the ball, maybe that too. Plus 7 at the 1 and 4 Las Vegas Raiders. 2-1 win teams in this one.
On the surface, it looks like a bad game to watch, but I think it's going to be a good game to watch for a lot of reasons. Both teams coming off a bye. You rarely see that in the NFL. Both teams coming off a bye facing each other the next week. And the Raiders are playing at home. However, I think people are still underestimating what Houston can do, right? They've got the good young running back, the rookie running back. I like Davis Mills. I like their pieces. They're getting healthier because of the bye. They now have Nico Collins back. They're getting Brevin Jordan back, 2 guys who I'm really high on. I think that offense gets going in this one against the Raiders defense, who has been prone to making bad mistakes and giving up points. So Raiders, that combination of Davante Adams and Derek Carr has to get clicking. And this is a game where you see the opponent and you say, we can take advantage of this team. We should be able to with this combination alone. They do have other pieces on that offense that also need to get going. The Raiders are by far, I think, the most underwhelming team this year. And they need to really get things moving in the right direction again on offense, especially. But this is a tough opponent to do that against. I talked about the offense for the Texans. They're led by a defensive coach, and their defense has been playing well this season. They're another team that their record at 1-3-1 doesn't reflect how well they've been playing, I think, both on offense and defense. I do think the Raiders find a way to pull this one out. I think they win. They're at home. They should win. But I'm taking Houston with the points, plus 7. I think that's it. They find a way to make it a closer game, maybe a 4-point or 3-point game. So give me Houston with the points, but the Raiders to actually come out and win when all is said and done. And that is very much par for the course of what Houston is for me this season.
Yeah, and I would agree. It's it's in Las Vegas. I like what Josh Jacobs is doing right now. It's a friendly system for him with Josh McDaniels at the helm. So he's had a couple good games, a couple injuries here and there. But if he's healthy, I think the Raiders are a balanced team at that point, right? They got Devontae Adams. I think Darren Waller is going to be out again in this one. But they can do a lot of different things, right? Whereas I think Houston really struggles in the pass game. And to go up against a team with Devontae Adams and company, right? Hunter Renfrow, some other pieces. It's going to be tough for them to overcome that. So although the line is favorable for Houston at plus 7, I just don't think they can sustain scoring drives, right? With Davis Mills. So I'm going to go Raiders at home, and I'm going under on the 45.5. Just feels right.
Under. I'm taking the over for sure. I think that a lot of points will need to be scored. The Raiders are going to need to score, and that's going to put Houston in score points mode as well. So I'm taking the over.
Okay. All right. All right, move on to the next one here. Tampa Bay -11. Huge line, maybe rightfully so, against Carolina. Tampa Bay 3-3, neck and neck with Atlanta in the NFC South. Carolina really trying to get that first pick overall in the draft next year. Over under set at 40. What do we think? Did Carolina have a chance to bust this line?
Do they have to make it -11? Sure, they have a chance. They could lose by 10, right? And then you win, right? If you bet Carolina. But I think this is the recoil game. I won't even call it a bounce back league or whatever. This is a recoil game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They hit their lowest of lows last week, right? The lowest of lows. You lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team you were supposed to dominate, and you got your butt kicked. You screwed up everybody's eliminator leagues, right? And you were probably the number one team most people were confident about, and you lost. And Tom Brady was losing it. And there's all these questions about what's going on off the field and how they're prepping for games. But the bottom line is that offense still has a lot of weapons and can still score a lot of points. That defense, it still has a lot of pieces, still can stop a lot of teams. And the Carolina Panthers are completely lost at this point. They fired their head coach. They're trading players. They're benching them in the fourth quarter. They do still have playmakers in Carolina, but they can't put anything together. They can't make anything right there. I expect the Bucs to come out and literally heave-ho and try and score 40, 50 points in this game just to show that they are capable of it again. And that's why I think Tampa Bay wins this one big. So I'm taking Tampa Bay -11, and I hope they can cover that spread. If they have to come out here and win by 17 points or more, in my mind, just to show, listen, we are still a Super Bowl contending team, and we beat up teams like this team that doesn't belong contending with us.
Right. And I think my initial thoughts are Tampa Bay is really struggling this year to find out. They're not the team they were, offensively at least. Defense, I think, is still playing solid. But they're 20th in points per game. They're 20th in overall points on the year. They're dead last in rushing yards. Just very uncharacteristic for a Tom Brady team, right? They're passing the ball a ton. They are top 6 or top 10 in the league in passing yards. So that's obviously with those weapons, that's sustainable. But it just seems weird to me that their rushing yards are way down. Usually they're a top rushing team.
Correct. That is a surprise this year. They have not been able to run the ball well. And maybe that has to do with the bad offensive line that's also irritating Tom Brady. But I think that those guys eventually will find a way to play up to a level that is acceptable. I don't think any of those interior offensive linemen are going to be, big time all-star players or anything, but they are going to eventually find a way to do what Tom Brady needs them to do and to do what the run game needs them to do, or at least adapt the offense to be able to run to the limits of their skill set, if that makes sense.
Right.
And this is the get right game. This is the find a way to do it game.
Right. And nobody wants to get yelled at by their grandfather. You know what I mean? Like it hurts more when your grandfather yells at you, right? It's like almost that disappointing thing. If your father yells at you, it's not so bad. You're used to that. But when grandfather yells at you,
yeah, right. At this point, Tom Brady's kids are going to be as old as his teammates, right?
Yeah. Just give it up, buddy. I just don't understand. Anyway, I'm taking Tampa Bay. I think it's a 21-7 type game. That's kind of how Tampa's been playing. And I'm going to go under the 40.
Oh, man, I'm going over because I think it's more like 38-10 in this one. I think, again, Tampa has to run on all cylinders and show that they can get it done.
Okay. All right. That's set. Next one here, we got the 4-2 New York Jets, 6th most confident bet of the week. And they're taking on the Let's Ride Denver Broncos.
There you go. Yeah, Jets, Jets. The 4-2 Jets versus the 2-4 Denver Broncos. Nobody thought of that when this game was on the schedule this year, especially the Broncos. This game is in Denver. Shout out to Casey Bishop if she's listening. This is her team and the team she works for. So she is in a pickle this week, if you will, although I know what she really wants to happen here. And I think she gets the result she wants. The Jets are going to win this game in my mind. I think that they're just playing right on all cylinders. And unlike the Giants, although I still think their record is better than the team is, I think that they're ahead of the Giants in terms of they know what they wanted. They've got their quarterback and their pieces, and now they're showing that it can work, right? That they can put it all together and it can work. And that is a better place to be in my mind than where the Giants are still with a first-year coach and trying to unaware of their long-term identity. There's a lot of questions around their long-term identity. So the Jets are in a better place in my mind, and Zach Wilson's playing really well. The offense, the run game, Breece Hall looks like rookie of the year. I mean, it's clicking on all cylinders. And again, you're going all the momentum versus all the opposite, the stoppage, if you will, and dragging your feet and down in the dumps on the Denver side with the fact that they just can't seem to get it together and get wins. And no matter what they do right, more things go wrong. So, and with the uncertainty around Russell Wilson versus Wilson game, then I just can't see myself taking the Broncos even with the home field advantage.
Okay, yeah, I disagree. I'm taking the Broncos at home. I think the Jets 4-2, credit to them. They are much improved from last year, but still a very young roster, right? And the Broncos defense is playing really well right now. You just need a little bit of juice from the offense, right? It's like, someone already squeezed the lemon and got the juice, but that's all you have left. It was the last one. So you just got to squeeze a little bit more. If they can pull off 2 scoring drives, they might be able to win this game. Right. So that's what I'm going with. I think it's a close one, 14-10, but I'm taking Denver at home.
Yeah, I was just about to say this is more of a battle of the defenses in my mind. The Broncos defense, as we've talked about before, are playing really, really well. But the offense can't do anything to score and help them out. And the Jets defense also playing very well, and their special teams as well. I don't know what this game comes down to, but offense, I'd probably give more credit to the Jets right now, which is crazy to say, than I would the Broncos. Defense, you might give a little bit of the Broncos credit, but it's pretty close. And if you're talking special teams, the Broncos lost that game because of special teams, the last game against the Chargers. And the Jets won their game because of special teams in my mind. They made a few big plays.
It's always a factor, right?
I think that could be the factor in this game. And I also think it's a low scoring. I'm taking the under, but I think it's going to be like a 20-10 game for the Jets.
Yeah. Broncos currently 5th in yards allowed. It's the 5th best, right?
Yes,
so,
yes. Lowest
yards allowed, right? So, surprisingly, Green Bay's number 1. That caught my eye, but yeah, a lot of hype on the Broncos defense, but that offense has got to figure something out, right? Melvin Gordon, we saw him get benched, but the headlines say he's going to start again. So use him. You got to find a way to get Jerry Jeudy more involved here. Cortland Sutton, like, what is going on? Give him the ball.
You've got the
pieces. Guys, got to be one of the best route runners in the league. It's shocking to me that nobody can get him the football in Denver.
Yep.
You see what CeeDee Lamb's doing. Did
you see some of the memes out there? I mean, Russell Wilson. There was
I thought you were going to say plays. You see some of those plays, but no
memes. And this is what I'm saying. The memes of Russell Wilson legitimately asking, we think Russell Wilson is blind, because there's 3-4 screenshots where a guy is wide open and Russell Wilson's just staring in the other direction.
Yeah,
throws the ball into coverage when there's somebody wide open as far as the ocean.
It looks like Drew Lock out there.
Yeah, it's worse. And that's also the comparison that people are making is the Broncos paid $50 million for the same quarterback. And that's exactly what's happening to them right now.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with Russell Wilson. Is it play calling? Is it, Nathaniel Hackett seems to be getting some blame as well, but I watch Russell Wilson. He does not look comfortable at all. Is it offensive line, or is it just Russ? Maybe he's not the player we thought. Maybe he was, and now he's not. I don't know.
The Broncos lose this game, Nathaniel Hackett could be one of the quickest fired head coaches we've seen.
GM could be on the way out as well, right?
Yeah, just fire everybody at that point.
Right, but there's some weird stuff going on with that offense. They're in the conversation to be the worst offense in the entire league.
You can't be a quarterback away for 4 years, get the quarterback, and then still be away. There's something wrong is there.
Yeah, it's just I'm gonna look up real quick.
This
The
game
Broncos
definitely more
offense.
important. Definitely more important to the Broncos, right? The Broncos need to be
Yep.
able to at least tread water at 3-4.
Okay.
And the Jets, if they lose 4-3, is still well above where people thought they'd be at this point in the
Yep.
season.
So Broncos are 31st in the league on offense,
Yeah, ugly.
and they're only behind or they're ahead of Houston, but Houston had a bye week, right? So
Yeah, and they have not. So really, they're the worst by all purposes.
anyway,
And
let's move on to the next one here. Seattle plus 5.5 at the Chargers in LA. Fourth most confident bet of the week. You like the Chargers in this one? Again, Seattle's defense is just non-existent, right? And I think the
yeah,
Chargers had a down week last week offensively on Monday night. They did not look comfortable. Justin Herbert, although they got the win, looked upset. I think he
yeah.
bounces back this week. A lot of people are getting down on Justin Herbert. He's had a couple bad games, but that's just how the NFL goes, folks. Don't
Against
lose
good
sight.
defenses.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
played good defenses. I think he's
And
still
he's playing hurt. Remember the ribs. So I
right.
mean,
Right.
there's a
It's
lot going
tough.
on there.
It's a tough ride, but I think he's still a premier quarterback. He just
Absolutely.
maybe we see a bounce back. I think we're due for a bounce back from him. We talked about the consecutive yards. He had like 15 games of consecutive 300-yard games, or maybe it was like 7. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but 15 seems like a lot. But 7 consecutive away games with 300+ yards. That was recently broken, but that's what he's capable of doing, right? Is putting together long streaks of games with a lot of productions. Right? So against a defense that's non-existent, right? They're playing one of the worst defenses in the league.
That's the issue, right? Seahawks got gifted a win by the Cardinals last week, even though their defense is still absolute garbage and non-existent. As you've said, they've given up just everything that you can imagine and way more scoring drives than not scoring drives on the season. And that is insane to think about. And against this Chargers team that can do both things well, run, pass, they can short game, long game, they can do it all. And they don't need to be fully healthy in this game, I don't think, to beat the Seahawks by more than 5.5. They should win by 10 or more points in this game at home versus this inferior Seattle defense. Seattle can still put points on the board. The Chargers defense hasn't been playing terribly. They've been playing pretty well too. And they're playing a tough, matchup in terms of the wide receivers and the rookie running back, who I really like. But I don't think that the Seahawks are going to be able to go toe-to-toe with what the Chargers are going to do against that defense.
Yep, so you're taking the Chargers, and I am taking the over in this one.
Yes,
back and forth passing teams. I like the over on this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well. I do think, both are going to be able to put up enough points to get over that number.
All right. Next one here. We got Kansas City, probably game of the week. Probably the game of the week. Maybe those some division matchups like the Colts Titans is good. Outside of that, I think this is the game of the week right here. Kansas City minus 2.5 at San Francisco.
Maybe.
How important is this game for San Francisco?
Less important than it seems, right? For a couple of reasons. One, it's versus an AFC opponent, so a loss doesn't mean as much. 2, the division is in shambles right now, right? So I fully expect that we already said the Seahawks are going to lose. They're also at 3-3. The Cardinals and the Rams, we don't know what's going on with them right now. Both teams have been inconsistent, to say the least. So if San Francisco loses, is it a setback? Yeah, it's a loss. You don't want to lose. But does it damage your reputation or where you can go so far this season? I don't think so at all. And in this game, again, I picked Kansas City as one of my best bets of the week. I'm very confident in this one.
Number 2.
I just think they're going to bounce back. And it was in contention to be 1 because I just absolutely feel that they're going to bounce back after that tough Bills game and take advantage of the injuries in San Francisco and put up the points that we know they're capable of. And again, we already talked about it in the Pick 6 segment, but the matchup here is very much in favor of Kansas City. San Francisco tries to slow ball their opponents and grind them down, but it just doesn't work against this offense in Kansas City. They're going to be able to light it up quickly, take control, score a lot of points. So definitely give me Kansas City to win and Kansas City minus 2.5. And I'm actually taking the under in this game because I'm not sure San Francisco is going to be able to hang on offense with Kansas City, and it ends up being maybe a 31-14 game.
Okay, yeah. Kansas City averaging 29.8 points per game. They have the most points scored in the league, and go figure, the most touchdowns on the season, right? San Francisco, on the other hand, averaging 20.3 points per game. It's 19th in the league, middle of the road with all touchdowns and points as well. So around that 15 mark for both. Kansas City really good in the red zone, 76% in the red zone. And like you said, San Francisco, to me, with a Kansas City team that's going to try to bounce back this week after, making the mistake. Pat Mahomes doesn't make mistakes twice. He just doesn't, right?
Exactly.
So I like Kansas City in this one as well. And San Francisco is not built to play a team like Kansas City. They're ground and pound. It's exotic run game, if you will, outside run, stretching defenses. If they get into a drive by drive or a shootout with Kansas City, they just can't do it, right? And especially the way they've been playing so far this season, I don't see this being as competitive as a lot of people think, really.
No.
So I'm going to go Kansas City and taking the over on the points.
Okay.
All right, two more here. We got the Sunday night game. Miami -7 at Pittsburgh. We already touched on this. Tua coming back. It should be a good game. Pittsburgh surprising people.
Beating
Yes,
Tampa Bay Mitch Trubisky coming back in and holding out for the win. Yeah, Pittsburgh, we've already talked about this game a little bit, but they don't know their identity right now. They tried to go to their young rookie quarterback who then got hurt, and now Mitch is back. And they went to the rookie for a reason because Mitch was inefficient and not really giving the energy the team needed. I think the wide receivers have stepped up a little bit, and maybe that's because of Kenny Pickett. But I don't know. They were still able to get it done and get the W last week. But Miami getting Tua back is the shot in the arm they need. The big thing is for them, their offense has not skipped a beat. Their production players, meaning Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's questionable for this game, by the way. But the two big name guys have been lighting it up still without Tua, and they just haven't been able to finish. And I think with Tua there, they find a way to finish and get it done. And that run game has gotten better for Miami. They seem to be leaning more on Raheem Mostert and clicking more. So I think they're going to be more well-balanced. The defense still has to play well. And against the Steelers especially, you're not looking at a team that's been lighting it up. They haven't been able to do anything with Najee Harris this season. And again, the passing game is going to depend on what opportunities they're given in that backfield of Miami. But I fully expect Miami to step up in this one.
Yeah.
Even though they're the underdog or they're -7 on the line.
Miami's defense has been a conversation. We know about the quarterback situation, right? You went down to your third string quarterback. That's not good for anybody, right? But really, this team defensively and offensively, they're in the top 10. Now, defensively, Miami's now 27th in yards allowed. One of the worst units in the league in the last 3 weeks. You just hate to see it. But when you're not sustaining drives because of your offense, that's what happens, right? Your defense gets wore out. They're on the field too much, and you don't score a lot of points that way, right? So they need to bounce back. If they're going to be the Miami team that the fans now expect, that the analysts now predict, they're a playoff team, right? Everyone said it. Tua's here. He's arrived. Mm-hmm. This is a playoff team. They got the right coach. They got the right pieces. They got to win this game. If that proves to be true. The Jets at 4-2, New England's 3-3.
Absolutely.
And we know what the Bills are. This is a must win for Miami, is it not?
Yes, definitely. I would put it at that level. After reeling 3-3, and now you're getting Tua back, and now the momentum's coming back. You're facing an inferior team. A lot of the same stuff I said about Dallas versus Detroit can apply here in the fact that you got to go out and, in this case, save your season. In Dallas's case, prove your point for Dak in that offense. But yeah, I would call it a must win. They have to get back on track and find a way to move forward and get the wins that are necessary, as you said, to make the playoffs in the AFC. If they were in the NFC, they'd be winning divisions at 3-3. In the AFC, let alone the AFC East, they're in last place right now. So
any other year in the AFC East, you'd be leading the division right now at 3-3.
Second place, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, next few opponents for the Dolphins. They got the Lions next week, the Bears the week after that, and then the Browns at home. So this is a nice little streak for them. Oh, and the Texans after that, right? So these are all winnable games. They could go on a little run here, right? But it starts with Pittsburgh. They're coming off a big win versus a good team in Tampa Bay. You know, Trubisky's now in. There's been fights in the locker room between Trubisky and Deontay Johnson. Who knows what that's about? Distraction, maybe. But I think you're going to get the Steelers' best effort here, especially Minkah Fitzpatrick. You know, used to play for Miami. A little added value for him, maybe. But if you can win this game, you know, you win 3 of the next 5, right?
Yep. You got to go on some kind of run here.
These are all winnable games. Texans, Lions, Bears. Those are winnable games. So they're in the conversation for sure, but it starts here. I think this could change the outlook if they lose this one. All right, so I'm taking Miami with the points, and I'm going over on 44.5.
Yes, I took the under here, actually. I don't think Miami scores. They might hold Steelers to like 10 points, and maybe they score 31 max, so that's still under for me.
All right, let's move on to Monday night. The Chicago Bears get a Monday night game. The primetime games have not been great.
Oh, my gosh. How many times are the Bears going to be in primetime? Or the freaking – all the lowly teams are getting the primetime games this year.
Everyone gets a chance, but woof. Anyway, Bears are +8 at New England. New England's been playing really well. Mac Jones is back, correct?
He should be, but I'm not sure that has been announced as definite yet.
I saw
because we're still early on Thursday here.
Yeah. A lot of time between now and then, but I think he is expected back. I'll double check quick.
Yeah, I'll check it too. Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Zappy's been playing arguably better.
Yes, right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, do we have a little controversy here?
I don't think it's a controversy. I mean, Mac Jones played well last season, carried them to the playoffs, right? And Zappy is what he is, you know, a third string quarterback in this league. I think, as you've said consistently, not me, that the offense is it's a product of the system in the offense in New England, that it's just a body out there and it's plug and play and they have the same type of guy. Right. So I think, Mac Jones is the more talented, is the more experienced guy. So he's better for the job. Does that mean the offense gets better with him in it? No, I don't think so, but I still think he's the guy to put out there. I know that sounds like two opposite statements, but it's not. I think that that's why, you know, he's the starting quarterback he is. But this matchup is a bit of a difficult one for a Monday night game in my mind. I'm not going to pick against the Patriots because I have consistently beat them down with Zappy and they've consistently proven me wrong. And so I do think the Patriots find a way to win this game. Their offense, their run game has looked better. Their defense has looked better. And they're playing an all-around inferior opponent in the Bears, right? So they should win this game by all means. The questionable part here now is the 8-point spread. I know that New England has been winning by bigger points the last couple games, but I do think that Chicago could at least keep it within a touchdown. So for that reason, I'm picking Chicago with the points, but New England to win the game, which I have not done for the last 3 weeks. So New England to win, but Chicago, give me Chicago with the points. And I'm definitely taking the under in this game.
Yeah, I think New England's been on a run here. They're starting to find their groove. You know, they're a defensive coach. They take shots downfield. They run the football, right? That's what the same thing they've always done, but they're starting to figure it out, right? So I'm going to take New England. I think they win by 8 here. Just Justin Fields ain't it, right? And they can't sustain drives. They can't score points. They don't even know what they are. They're trying to pass now. after not passing the ball for 4 weeks.
Yeah, right. They had more passing yardage in the
Right.
last game than the whole season.
Although they almost pulled off the fourth quarter comeback the last time we saw them with Mooney on the inches from the end zone.
That's right.
I just think New England's going to be very prepared, and I think they win by more than 2 scores. So I'm going New England, and I'm taking the over on 39.5. And Jeff Howe reports there is no quarterback controversy in New England. When Mac Jones is healthy enough to return to play, he'll be the starter per sources at The Athletic.
Right, and it is still listed as questionable. I did check the depth chart or the actual injury report, but we know that New England plays games with the depth or the injury report consistently under Bill Belichick, right? Tom Brady was listed every day for like 6 years straight or something. So yeah, I mean, it's questionable, but it's fully expected that he will be playing in this game.
Yep. So that's it. We'll take that. And that's it, folks. That's all the games. Be sure to check out the. Oh, heck is that?
Phoenix came to say hi. I don't know how she got in here, but she did. She came down and said hi.
Well, that means the show's over, folks. We've been officially cut off.
Yes. Great picks this week. Some good games. I'm feeling pretty confident about having a good week in my picks this week. So bet along with me. I'm feeling it, and I've got the track record to prove it this season and before, and we'll see how it goes. I think this could end up being our first 6-0 week of the season. So remember, toss your hat in the ring.
See you next week.